And on this account I'm grateful for old age, for the exercise costs me little trouble. I only have to stir and I'm weary, and that after all is the end of exercise, even for the strongest. Interested in having my trainers? One's enough for me. Farius, a likeable young fellow, as you know, but he's due for a change. I'm looking now for someone rather more youthful. He in fact declares that we're both at the same climacteric, since we're both losing our teeth. But I've reached the stage where I can only keep up with him with difficulty when we're out for a run, and before many days are out, I won't be able to keep up with him at all. See what daily exercise does for one. When two people are going in opposite directions, there's soon a big distance between them. He's coming up at the same time as I'm going downwards, and you know how much quicker travel is in the second of these directions. But I'm wrong. The age I'm at isn't one that is going downwards, it's one that's in headlong descent. However, if you'd like to hear how today's race ended, well, we've made it a tie, something that doesn't often happen with runners. After this, more a spell of exhaustion than of exercise, I had a cold plunge. Cold with me, meaning just short of warm. Here I am, once celebrated as a devotee of cold baths, regularly paying my respects to the canal on the 1st of January, and jumping into the maiden pool in just the same way as I read, wrote, and spoke some sentence or other every new year, in order to ensure good luck in the coming year. And now I've shifted my scene of operation, first to the Tiber, then to my own pool here, which even when I'm feeling my heartiest and don't cheat, has had the chill taken off it by the sun. It's a short step to a hot bath. The next thing is breakfast, which consists of some dry bread, no table laid, and no need to wash the hands after such a meal. I then have the briefest of naps. You know this habit of mine, of dropping off for a moment or two, just slipping off the harness, as you might say. I find it enough to have simply stopped being awake. Sometimes I know I've been asleep, sometimes merely guess I have been. Zeno was a very great man, as well as the founder of our Stoic school, a school with an unequalled record for courageous and saintly living. Well, listen to the way in which, desiring to deter us from drunkenness, he deduces the principle that the good man won't get drunk. No person who is drunk, he says, is entrusted with a secret. A good man is entrusted with a secret. Therefore, the good man will not get drunk. Watch how ridiculous he's made to look when we counter with a single syllogism on the same pattern. Of the many we could advance, it's sufficient to instance one. No person who is asleep is entrusted with a secret. The good man is entrusted with a secret, therefore the good man does not go to sleep. Now, just let each of us name for himself the people he knows can be trusted with a secret, though they can't be trusted with a bottle. I'll give all the same one solitary example myself, just to prevent its being lost to human memory. Life needs a stock of noteworthy examples, nor need we always go running to antiquity for them. Lucius Piso was drunk from the very moment of his appointment as warden of the city of Rome. He regularly spent most of the night wining and dining in company, and slept from then until around midday, noon to him being early morning. He nevertheless discharged his duties, which embraced the general welfare of the whole city, with the utmost efficiency. The late Emperor Augustus, as well as Tiberius, entrusted him with secret orders, the former on appointing him governor of Thrace, the conquest of which he completed. The latter when he left Rome for Campania, leaving behind him in the capital many objects of distrust and hostility. I imagine it was because Piso's drunken habits had been such a success, so far as he was concerned, that Tiberius later appointed Cossus to be prefect of the city. This man, otherwise dignified and self-controlled, steeped himself in liquor, soaking it up to such an extent that on one occasion in the Senate, having come there straight from a party, he succumbed to a slumber from which nothing could rouse him and had to be carried out. Yet this did not stop Tiberius writing in his own hand a number of letters to Cossus, the contents of which he did not consider suitable for communication even to his ministers, and Kossuth never let slip a single secret, whether private or official. If you want to arrive at the conclusion that the good man ought not to get drunk, why set about it with syllogisms? Tell people how disgusting it is for a man to pump more into himself than he can hold, and not to know the capacity of his own stomach. Tell them of all the things men do that they would blush at sober, and that drunkenness is nothing but a state of self-induced insanity. For imagine the drunken man's behavior extended over several days. Would you hesitate to think him out of his mind? As it is, the difference is simply one of duration, not of degree. Point to the example of Alexander of Macedon, stabbing his dearest and truest friend Clytus at a banquet, and wanting to die, as indeed he should have done, when he realized the enormity of what he had done. Drunkenness inflames and lays bare every vice, removing the reserve that acts as a check on impulses to wrong behavior. For people abstain from forbidden things far more often through feelings of inhibition when it comes to doing what is wrong, than through any will to good. Add to this the drunkard's ignorance of his situation, his indistinct, uncertain speech, his inability to walk straight, his unsteady eye and swimming head, with his very home in a state of motion, as if the whole house had been set spinning by some cyclone, and the tortures in his stomach as the wine ferments. Where is the glory in mere capacity, when the victory rests with you, when all the company lie prostrate around you, slumbering or vomiting, declining all your calls for another toast, when you find yourself the only person at the party still on your feet, when your mighty prowess has enabled you to beat all comers, and no one has proved able to match your intake? A barrel is none the less enough to beat you. What else was it but drinking to excess, together with a passion for Cleopatra, itself as potent as drink, that ruined that great and gifted man, Mark Antony, dragging him down into foreign ways of living and un-Roman vices? This it was that made him an enemy of the state. This is what made him no match for his enemies. It was this that made him cruel, having the heads of his country's leading men brought into him at the dinner table, identifying the hands and features of liquidated opponents in the course of banquets marked by sumptuous magnificence and regal pomp, still thirsting for blood when filled to the full with wine. Explain, then, why the good man should avoid getting drunk, using facts, not words, to show its ugliness and offensiveness. Prove, and an easy task it is, that so-called pleasures, when they go beyond a certain limit, are but punishments. Letter number 86. Here I am, staying at the country house which once belonged to Scipio of Africa himself. I'm writing after paying my respects to his departed spirit, as well as to an altar, which I rather think may be the actual tomb of that great soldier. His soul will have gone to heaven, returned in fact to the place from which it came. What convinces me of this is not the size of the armies he commanded, for Cambyses equally had such armies, and Cambyses was merely a madman who turned his madness to good account, but his quite exceptional self-restraint and sense of duty. This is something in him which I find even more deserving of admiration of the time when he finally left his country than during the time when he was fighting for her. Was Scipio to stay in Rome, or was Rome to stay a free democracy? That was then the choice. What did Scipio say? I have no wish, he said, to have the effect of weakening in the least degree our laws or institutions. All Roman citizens must be equal before the law. I ask my country, then, to make the most of what I have done for her, but without me. If she owes it to me,